I want to thank you again, the Pyramid Club, Rachel Barkley, for hosting our weekly show and creating an environment for us to be a game changer and make a difference. So good afternoon, Rachel.
Good afternoon.
What's going on?
How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good. Busy and good.
Busy, 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 which brings a question to mind. You know, I always have a question for you before we get started. I know you're to be opening soon, knock on wood. What three things would make for a very successful re-emerging, opening, getting back out there again? What three things? You have three?
I have like 25, but top three, I would say navigating, the health and safety of the membership, the community and the staff, that's definitely something that we're focusing on. I don't think anybody knows how to really navigate that until it's happening. So, that will definitely be a success how we handle that, right?
Right.
And we're ready, believe me. And I think, this being a very good example, incorporating, these thriving virtual programs into the in-person programming is definitely something that needs to happen. So looking forward to that. I think we have a plan. We're ready to go with that. And let's see, the last one.
Can she bring it home?
I think she can. I think, maintaining the connection and strengthening the connection that we've made with one another through the Pyramid Club and otherwise during this time, and sort of translating that into the in-person as well. I think taking all of this and making it, our community much stronger is super important. So if all those three things happen, I can let go of the other 22 things I have on my mind.
Since I'm in the positive, I'll say when all those three things happen.
Yes, thank you.
Done. Well, thank you again for hosting us.
Thank you for doing this.
Our co-pilot, Dawn Mahoney, President and CEO of Learning in the White Space, joining us all the way from Wisconsin, bringing her production technological, I can't even say it, technology gifts. How about that? Technology gifts, boom. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for the welcome. And we have about, 20-some people in the attendee list so far, so that's great. If you have not used Zoom or haven't engaged on Zoom with us in the past, I'm hoping you'll chat with me today. Just click the chat pod in the lower part of your screen and it'll open up and you can type away on the other side of your screen. If you want to change your view to see all of us at once or one speaker at a time, you have the choice of, if you're on a laptop or a computer, switching between speaker view and gallery view. If you have a second monitor, you have a second window open somewhere that'll spotlight the speakers as they speak. And if you're on a mobile device, in order to see each of us, you'll have to scroll back and forth. But you probably know how to do the swiping thing on a mobile device in 2020. So that's the scoop.
All right, thank you. I am chomping at the bit to begin the conversation with the two people I call resilience whisperers. We have Lorraine Webb and we have Erica Bennett. So they're going to join us. As they're joining us, I'll read a very quick bio for each. Erica, Master's in Education. She's currently Leadership and Executive Development Partner for Independence Blue Cross. And Lorraine Webb, retired President of Human Resources, Philadelphia Gas Works, and currently the President of LSW or LS Webb Coaching and Consulting. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I feel the power.
We are excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we jump into what you're doing and how you're doing it and why you're doing it, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are? Or what are you? We have the title, we heard the organization, but who are you? Yeah, help fill in the blanks. Something that's not particularly on you. Just who is Erica Bennett and who is
Lorraine, do you want to go first?
I have no problems going
Awesome.
first. It's my pleasure. Um, you know, Jim, as you said, I was vice president. I recently retired. And I recently retired, worked my way up, vice president of human resources, organizational development, and handled a lot of different types of things. But where my heart was, and still is actually working directly with people to help them become the best that they can possibly be. So I was fortunate enough about 4 or 5 years prior to retiring to be able to figure out what I wanted to do.
Nice.
And that is really about coaching, all right, and that is about consulting. I found out pretty early on in my life that people truly want to do good and they need help sometimes. And my joy really is being a thought leader, thought partner with them and helping them understand who they really are. So that's a little bit about who I am. And I have a story for you later on that I'll tell you that I think that
how's that for some content teasing, content teaser stuff? Hang in there, right? It's coming.
At the end, I got a good story for you. Okay.
Erica.
Oh, wow. First of all, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. Lorraine and I are both tickled pink to be here. So just a little bit about me. Like Lorraine, my passion really is coaching. It always has been. But currently, I have the distinct pleasure and honor of working for Independence Blue Cross. I could not imagine working for a greater organization right now, just given their response to everything that we're dealing with, both with the COVID as well as with the social and racial unrest. But in my role as our leadership and executive development partner, that's a long title to say one key thing. I have the privilege and the honor of working with our firm's leaders to essentially partner with them around any and everything that they need in order to be the very best leaders they can be. So I thoroughly enjoy that. And then also, I guess I have side hustles too. I recently, in the last several years, working as an adjunct at Temple in their School of Education, and just love that work. And then I also am very, very proud to do work with an organization, Diverse Force on Boards. I do their leadership development training as well, and just love, love, love that work. But the thing I would say, in addition to my leadership development work, my work as a life coach, I think, has been the most pivotal part of my journey. And like Lorraine, we are both very fortunate that we can do this work and that we have the trust from those that, we work with, and we work so hard and we take it so seriously, this work that we do around really and truly being a support to help people achieve their goals and do whatever it takes for them to feel like they're thriving. So super honored to do the work and be a coach. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm going to borrow one of your words. You said you partner with Independence Blue Cross. How did this partnership between you and Lorraine form? There has to be a story. Where does it evolve? Can you bring that to share how this world came together?
All right, I'm going to tell the story. And
thank you, Lorraine.
You're quite welcome. Usually in life, I have a sense of when I've met people, but it's not always really, really clear.
Lorraine, I'm going to ask you to speak up just a little. The mic went down.
Okay. So I said that usually I have a real good sense of when I've met people, but when I met Erica, it's almost frozen in my brain, and I'll tell you why. She was doing some extraordinary work with my team in terms of leadership work. And we were talking during the break, and she said something that really resonated for me. It was October 31st, Halloween, and she said, I forgot to get, I think, my costume for my son. I must be not really thinking and all of and she was distraught. And I thought, my goodness, here you are thinking about your son. You're doing this amazing work. And it showed me what a wonderful, warm human being she is, so connected in terms of making sure that her son was okay, but still being the consummate professional. So that's how we met, and our friendship went on from there.
It did, for sure. I will add on to that story, and I will say that it really started when I was referred to Lorraine when she was at PGW. And when I first walked into her office, this beautiful, very comfortable space, I just remember being so nervous to go and meet her and to talk to her. But she was just so warm and so genuine. And from that very, very moment, I think that we were just kindred spirits. And we just sort of supported each other. She learned from me and I learned from her, even though at that time she was my client. And then it just quickly morphed into this real connection, which quite honestly is, I think, what we both strive to give to our clients. And that's the feeling of utter support and transparency and the ability to be vulnerable and to really share in a very, very open way. And so she has always been that to me. I'm getting emotional. And I have always tried to be that to her. And she's been there for me throughout some pretty tough times. And so it started out professionally, but it has really become something, I think, that has not only allowed us to grow in the work we do, but I think our relationship informs a lot of what we do and what we try to create in some of the work that we're doing now.
Speaking of the work you're doing now, there's a rumor on the street that this phenomenon is called the Twilight Café, where these two whisperers are working with women regarding resilience and the like. Can you talk to us about the Twilight Café and why? Why now?
All right. I'm going to start, but I do want to, I'll dive in a little bit also when you're talking, Erica, after you speak, why we decided to do it very quickly. We were talking towards the latter part of March. One of the things I love about Erica is that she can move on a dime. And we were talking about the following. This COVID stuff is really getting to us. We're in lockdown. What do we do? And then as coaches, we started to ask the question, there've got to be so many women out there that must be feeling the same thing. And to be quite honest with you, women truly carry the brunt of the work that they need to do in life, either working, mothers, taking care of elders, etc. So we talked a bit more about what we could do. And Erica said, well, why don't we just have a time where we get together on the phone every Sunday or so and talk for an hour and coach women the way we would coach them if they were in our living room or in our kitchen. And that's really how this started. And I'm going to turn it over to Erica to finish up the why. Go ahead.
Why now? Why now?
Well, I would say, and thank you, Lorraine, because she's right. We get these ideas. And I think that the reason the Twilight Café came together as quickly as it did is because, as Lorraine said, not only were we hearing from people, either at work, in my case, I just started to teach some workshops with my boss about resilience. We were also hearing from people within our own life coaching, relationships, feeling a lot of the angst and the anxiety, the uncertainty, the rapid change. People were told 1 week there's this COVID thing, and the next week you've got to get home, and now you've got to figure out how to teach your children, God forbid, and take care of this and that. And it was just so the extent of the change and the pace of the change, this was not just the norm, right? So people were really starting to struggle with a lot of anxiety, and we were just hearing that. And I will say very, very openly, the idea that we were all starting to deal with a lot of isolation. I got in my car and decided to drive, 21 hours from New Jersey down to Fort Lauderdale to be with my son and my ex-husband, because I knew that I wanted to be close to him in case something happened to his dad. And so I got myself into an Airbnb, and I was literally alone without a soul in the world. And one day, talking to Lorraine, I thought, if I'm feeling this, I'm sure everybody else is. And so this sort of the scope, the span of this isolation, this rapid change, this sort of anticipatory grief, we're all wondering if we're going to get sick, just all of these new feelings that were so much larger than what most of us have ever really had to experience, led us to believe that we needed to find a way to not not only support ourselves, but to also make an opportunity available. And we did decide to just do this for women. We may do something for the men one day, I don't know. But we decided to basically just sort of pretend that we had our sisters and our aunties and our grandmoms and people over, and just coming together to talk about what does it mean to maintain a spirit of resilience. Given all of these really difficult feelings and, the stress and feeling disconnected, we knew that a couple things had to happen. We had to really help women maintain a sense of hope, maintain a sense that they can and will bounce back, even though we're all in the swirl of this unknown and the fear of it all. But then also to really come together, and this is something I really credit Lorraine with, is this idea of really taking advantage of our collective wisdom. This idea of the village, this idea that I don't have to carry it all by myself. I know women, they carry their own stories. How can we create a platform to come together and in a very, very open and transparent way, start to share tips and tools as coaches with women on the line, but to also gather their collective wisdom and have them learn from each other. So that's kind of what we did and what we try to do. So,
and if I could,
yeah, please
add one more thing. In making this happen, we have two other people on our team. One is my sister, Sandy Farris, and then the other is Jocelyn Hastings, who's our producer. We do all of this because we realize that people are just hungry to talk and to support. And the first one that we did was really, the new normal. What do we do with this new normal?
Yeah.
And we've gone on from there, but we'll share a little bit more as we go forward in the conversation.
Thank you, Dawn. Question out there, chat room?
Yes. Before we get too far away from it, the question is the Twilight Café open for anyone to watch or participate? And if so, how do we sign up? So maybe you ladies can address that.
Sure, I'm happy to. Right now, the Twilight Café is for ladies, and we have a Facebook page. If you just search the Twilight Café, you'll see sort of the little picture of some women kind of connecting and holding hands, and that's our page. And if you're interested, we'll definitely share our contact information and put you on our mailing list so we can send you the invitations directly. But we post our bi-weekly events there on our Facebook page. And they start at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and all women are welcome. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Image and brand consultants will say who you are essentially has been there all your life. There's been a you just have grown more into it. So it sounds like you two decided that we're going to serve again. Where did that come from? Was there a serve story or something happened? Was there a turning point where you decided just to be a giver, to serve, to help bring people together? Can you think about when it started for you?
I will say that I've always, I always took the Myers-Briggs. And from, I guess, the age of 20, it said, this is really the world you should be in, the world of human resources or a YMCA director or a bus driver. That was what I got, okay? And I realized that there were certain things that I wanted to do and being of service, and I know it's a hackneyed expression, but it's really a true one because there's nothing more, if you will, gratifying than working with a person where all of a sudden it comes together for them and they own their life. They own their life. They see the goodness in them. They see the fact that they have strengths. They feel and understand that they can do anything, all right? And that is, when that happens, that is just so incredibly powerful. And I end up learning truly more in that experience. But when that happens, so to ask me when did it start, I think I probably am wired this way. Yeah. The work that I'm doing now is really, I'm thinking seriously about my legacy. And I'm not talking about the Bill Gates kind of legacy. I'm talking about a legacy in terms of working with people. And those people will, again, work with other people. One thing we do with the Twilight Café is that we also open it up for women on the cafe to talk. All right, and they, when I say talk, actually provide a presentation. And
Oh,
that
nice.
itself is just so wonderful and powerful. So it's good work. You know, as John Lewis said, get into good trouble. We're getting into good work.
Erica, you would say the same thing? Was there a turning point for you, or is this how it has been wired ever since?
So I would say that when I was very young, I knew I wanted to be a teacher of some sort. So I feel like I've always been in the business of giving advice and guidance and counsel. It might also be that I am the oldest of 6 children. And I, as the oldest, I've always kind of been in that position. But nonetheless, what I would really say, my journey as a coach and why I feel so passionate about the work that we do, it's always been informed, I think, by my own personal journey of healing. I've always been super transparent about my background and about some of my own, the things in my life that have shaped me. But I learned very, very early on, with the help of both a therapist as well as the help of a coach, a lot of personal growth, a lot of development. I've always been a student of self and personal development. And I think that there was just a time, maybe about 20 years ago, when I realized, while I've been educated to do this executive coaching and this organizational work, I found that no matter what the issue was, the problem was, it was always something that was more related to sort of our own personal challenges. And I don't know, it's always come very easily for me. And I think because I'm a transparent person, I feel that God has really blessed me to sort of create space and to begin to help people engage, as Lorraine said, around looking at your stories, looking at the messages, looking at your inner beliefs, why we believe what we believe, and how those sometimes very outdated beliefs no longer serve us. And so I see myself as someone, and I think we try to do this also in the Twilight Café and with anybody we interact with. What is the sort of the story that you're telling yourself about the thing that may be causing you a sense of dis-ease? And is there a better story? Is there a more expansive way to look at it? How do we start to create greater self-awareness and building up that insight? And all of that, we feel, can really start to help mitigate some of that anxiety and just create a more expansive way for you to be in the world. And so coaching and giving back, it's in my DNA. My family, in Louisiana, I have a very large family. We have a strong, history of community service and giving back to the community. And I'm just a giver, and I always have been. So it's kind of in my blood, but I have to say at this point, I just see it as a privilege. It really is. So.
Thank you. You mentioned some of the stories that are being shared.
Mm-hmm.
Do tell. What specifically are some of the challenges, the issues, the stories you're hearing? Are there themes? Are totally different? Are there some reoccurring? Are there outliers?
Yeah.
What are some of those stories that typically lead to forecasting failure?
I'm sorry, Jim, the last part you went out. You said that lead to what?
It typically leads to forecasting failure.
Oh, got it.
Good stories. We hear well, this is going to happen. Suppose
Yeah.
this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are some of the themes that have emerged during the sessions you've had? Stories to address.
Absolutely. So Lorraine, I'll start, and it's because something really does stand out for me. I think the biggest issue, and it may not feel as intense for a lot of people now because now the stories have shifted given what's happening in the world. But I think in the very, very beginning, because there was such a sense of unknown, we didn't really know as much about the virus as we know now. To be honest with you, people were really just feeling tremendous fear, and probably still are feeling a lot of fear around getting sick, around losing loved ones, around the very real fact that it's one thing to say, I'm doing all I can to stay healthy, but people are living in sort of a constant state of anxiety with this sort of what if, and they're wondering, could it be me? Could it, we're thinking about sending kids back to school, and making decisions about going back to work. And so it's not like I know when this is going to end. What's really happening, I think, is that people are dealing with just a steady state, a steady undercurrent of anxiety. And it's starting starting to impact, how they're feeling physically. They're starting to have issues sleeping. They're starting to see that they're more irritable with their children, and they're struggling leading their team. So, it is the reality, and it isn't going anywhere. And so resilience becomes more important now than ever. So what we really endeavor to do is to say, not that we're getting back to the way things were, but given the current reality, given the fact that things are going to remain nebulous and ambiguous, how are you able to really engage in hard and fast tools that can help you stay anchored in the now, and that can start to lessen some of that anxiety? So I would say that the bigger the issue continues to be this idea of anticipatory grief and the fear of loss. Yeah.
Sounds like the fear of uncertainty, the fear of ambiguity.
Absolutely.
Not knowing. Lorraine?
Right.
So what we did is that we started to design, and all of this is very organic, but we designed our programs around, resiliency, hope, and balance. And each week when we get together, every other week when we get together, we really target it on those areas so that we can really explore it and have people actually discuss what they're feeling, what they're doing, because we find that when you're in community, the community is its own best teacher.
Yeah.
And it also says, I'm not alone. So we have women that range from the age of 30 all the way up to 75 or so, and they can share. It's a diverse group. And when that happens, people feel extremely empowered. I watch each time we have a session, and I can see the Zoom faces. People are taking notes. People are nodding their heads. People are just kind of saying, amen, this really works for me. So the themes are themes that really impact. As we move into September, and as people potentially maybe going back to work, how are people going to manage their careers? What are they going to do about their finances? What about school? So we want to take a look at all of that, and we bring in speakers. All right. And people have been very gracious with their time, and they'll come in and they'll speak. So that is kind of the thematic scheme of what we do.
Yeah.
So Rand, you said resiliency, hope, and balance.
Yes.
So they make up the three legs of the stool.
That is what we call our sister stool. So when you can sit on that sister stool,
Yeah.
and you're the leg of resilience and the leg of hope and the leg of balance are all even, all is well.
Yeah.
But Erica says, when one starts to wobble, that's
Right.
when we've got to try to get it back into balance.
Absolutely.
That's really the way that we take a look at it.
Yeah.
Dawney, is there a question?
Yeah, so I think you addressed it, but just in case, can you share at least 2 strategies or tools to ignite resilience from your discussions that I can implement immediately?
Ooh.
Sound like somebody wants some tools. They want some tools they can use. Application.
Yes. I've got 2 of them that I think, and I've been talking about these for months, and I only share them because they work. And as a person who does struggle with, and again, I'm a transparent person with generalized anxiety disorder, I do this. And Lorraine, I'd love for you to add on here, but 2 things that I will say at any given time: if you are feeling distress and you are feeling very uncomfortable emotions, and it feels like you're in that swirl, you're kind of being pulled into quicksand, none of that feels good, right? So typically that's happening for 2 reasons, and you start to feel your ability to actually manage this thing in front of you, you start to feel like it's slipping away from you. So a couple things might be happening. You got to kind of think through, what is it that you're paying attention to, right? So what exactly are you focusing on? Stephen Covey wrote in the very good book, and if you've read it, you're probably close to my age, but The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and he talks about that idea of your circle of influence. And so at any given time, you are paying attention to things sort of in that outer circle that, while they affect you and you feel impacted by them, you just can't control them. You can't, right? So there is a pandemic going on. There's a lot of things that are happening. While I feel a certain way about it, I may not necessarily be able to do too much directly about it. Now, what I can do, if I focus on the things within that inner circle, which is to say, okay, so I don't know when the pandemic is going to end. If I don't focus so much on that, but I say to myself, you know what, I'm going to continue to social distance. I'm going to continue to wear face masks. I'm going to come to the Twilight Café and get all the tools that I need to stay resilient. You know, if you at any given moment watch what you're focusing on, I promise you, your resilience will immediately go up, because now you are feeling more confident and making an impact on things in the moment that you can control. And it always makes you feel better. I think my second favorite tool is the idea of really watching the stories you tell yourself. So, you know, this idea of self-talk, we all do it. I mean, at any given moment, you have this inner dialogue going on in your head. And the key question becomes, are you engaging in a dialogue that is making you feel anchored in yourself? Are you engaging in a dialogue that dials up your confidence to handle whatever the thing is in front of you, which would be more positive self-talk, positive affirmations? Lorraine starts every one of our sessions with a wonderful centering affirmation. She encourages us to sit down, sit up, and she recites this beautiful affirmation, and it gets us in the moment to recognize whatever else is going on in the world around you, all you have is this right here. And so just pulling yourself right back to where you are can absolutely begin to get you back to a place of balance. But if you aren't careful about the self-talk, which is going to do one of two things, it's going to either distort, you know, your confidence in yourself to either tackle it, and it's going to actually distort the thing. It's going to make the thing seem completely crazy. But if you are engaging in more positive self-talk, really that internal dialogue, that tends to absolutely dial up your resilience. So my first tip is to always watch what you are paying attention to. What are you thinking about? Your thoughts really do dictate a lot. And then as you do that, watch the actual message that you are sharing, that you are actually playing in your head, and then step out of that when you can by either meditating and or by engaging in, you know, your favorite affirmation, your personal motto. Mine personally, and I say it 1,000 times in any given day, is good things are always happening for me. Things are always working out for me. Things are always working out for me, no matter what it is. It can feel this big, and then I can zero in, things are always working out for me. So we start to literally shift our perspective and begin to tell ourselves a better story about the thing that seems so out of control. Watch the thoughts you're thinking, tell yourself a story that serves you and serves your ability to actually begin to navigate it.
Love it. They say what you focus on grows.
Absolutely.
Grows. Additional tips.
May I just add two things?
Yes, please.
Very quickly? And Erica, you were spot on in terms of what we talked about. The one other thing, we talk about that negative talk.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, you've been successful.
Yes.
So pull up that story of when you've been successful, because you have been successful. And if you could do it then you can do it now. Yes. And that starts to pull down that temperature of that talk. And again, I can't underscore enough, you can only control what you can control.
Right.
On that. So I just
it's so true.
Yes.
So incredibly true.
This next question is for whoever wants to dive in and take it. I believe you learn a lot from your gory times in life. Mm-hmm. Not always glory. We get punched in the gut, we fall down, we get disappointed, someone doesn't come through, it doesn't work out. But both of you are testaments that you can get back up, can pull others with you. Why don't you share a story about a time when you did get punched in the gut?
Yeah.
You didn't know where you were going. You did not know how to rebound. And it stayed with you for a second. Your equilibrium, your balance wasn't there. You wasn't feeling as hopeful or resilient. Tell us about what happened and what did you do to be resilient, to get back, to model and live what you give.
Yeah. Lorraine?
I think I'll start off with a quick story. When I graduated from college, I started working at a bank. Why I decided to work at a bank with a degree in English literature, I have no idea. I couldn't balance my own checkbook. It didn't work out. Again, took the Myers-Briggs, what did it tell me? Personnel, human resources, bus driver, YMCA. I had to leave. I had to leave that bank because it just didn't serve me. And I was in my early 20s. And I got a job working for what it euphemistically was called the City of New York Real Estate Management. This was
I heard your New York come out just now.
yeah, and this was back when all things were going wrong, especially in the South Bronx, and that's where I was assigned. And I had to go in. My job was to go in and to see whether or not the contractors did their work. I would go into buildings where there were no pipes because the contractors hadn't replaced them. I would go into buildings to see if a roof was there, but there was no roof there. But what I found and how I got up was that each person that met me, that lived in those conditions, would say the following: "You're such a nice woman. Would you like a cup of tea? You're such a nice person. Can I help you?" And the reason I say that that's important and that made me get up, I thought to myself, if they can live in those conditions and be gracious and open, and that they can reach out, then I need to stand up, get up, and do what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's my story.
Stand up, get up, and do what I'm supposed to be doing.
There you go. That's right. There you go.
Absolutely.
You have a get back up story?
I have so many. I have to kind of think through the one I want to share.
Don't edit.
No, I won't. But I think Dawn has a question before I delve in.
Donnie, what's up out there?
The question in the chat pod is, we've talked a lot about the COVID-19 situation. What other topics are discussed at the Twilight Café and how are they determined? Maybe that's you.
Sure, absolutely.
Question because men aren't allowed to be there, so I wasn't.
Oh, so sorry. I think that the COVID and going home in the pandemic was really sort of the reason that we started the Twilight Café. But what we've been really sensitive to is the fact that given everything that's happening with racial and social unrest and our reactions to that and the impacts of all of us, we have absolutely been making very, very sure that we talk about those topics, or that we at least bring up those times if we are in fact feeling personally impacted, so we can begin to model that openness and that transparency for the ladies who join us. So I think that all of our topics to date have definitely been around maintaining that spirit of resilience, but we have also, given what's happening, we've been talking about how to really shake fear and embrace hope. We spent some time really talking, about the feeling and what kind of happens to you when hopelessness sets in, and what do you do and how do you navigate that. And we had the pleasure of actually having a wonderful colleague of mine, Dr. Kenesha Parrish, who does a lot of work with neuropsychology. She's amazing. She came on and talked about what do you do when the feelings of overwhelm are just out of control. And so she helped us begin to think through that link between your thoughts and your emotions and thinking traps, and really understanding how you get yourself kind of in that cycle and how to get yourself out of it. And again, I remember when we first started discussing that particular topic, I was listening to my son, who was sharing with me, I'm ready to get a job. He's 17. And I thought, boy, are you serious? I'm not letting you out of the house. I'm afraid that you will wind up somewhere dead on the side of the road. No, seriously. And I was losing sleep and couldn't eat and was feeling a lot of stress and strain. And so while it started because of COVID, I think that when we talk about managing burnout, about really engaging in self-care, because we are dealing with such heightened stress, whether that is from our pandemic-related fears, job insecurity, worrying about our kids, worrying about racism, and all of these things, it's sort of just been a perfect storm. So again, we actually thought we might, run this group for maybe 2 months, because I personally thought I was going to be back at 19th and Market in my office. Not quite. And so things continued. And so we are sort of seeing, yes, we're talking about what does it mean to be resilient, but we're starting to see other kinds of things. Again, burnout is real. We had a fantastic session on that, using self-care to really understand and recognize signs of intense stress. Again, last week we had a speaker who talked about, once again, navigating uncertainty. So I don't think that these topics are going away, but I do think that the issues that inform them continue to change and they continue to shift. So we talk about quite a lot. And then as Lorraine said, there's a lot that's going on in those breakout rooms where we give people a prompt. So Lorraine, what was it? Our last session was making tough decisions in difficult times, right?
That's right. And that one, we usually go for about an hour, but I'm going to tell you, we had to say kind of like time is up. Because people really had a lot to say. They were so.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they really do. So yeah, it's again, right now, what's really informing and what informed that particular session is the fact that a lot of people are really, really feeling anxiety about sending their children back to school. I've been saying to people that there is no one right way to work through that process. There's no judgment. I happen to have a son, he's 17, he can navigate a mask and he can social distance effectively, but I have a cousin that I am extremely close to, and she has a 3-year-old, and she's working from home and trying to navigate being a full-time parent and taking care of her child. And guess what? You know, the idea of sending her child back to daycare, it is gut-wrenching. It's causing tears and sleepless nights. This is not easy. And so it's not just make a list of pros and cons right now. It is about, it could be, and it can feel like life or death. It can feel like you are either honoring your family or not. It can feel like you are contributing to the safety of your community or not. People are forced to really have a position on this. And so, you know, coming together to have that discussion and to show and to help everyone that joined us last Sunday understand that you are not alone and that there is no one right way to do this and that it's supposed to feel crazy and wacky and scary. And so our topics, we feel that they are going to always, again, kind of live within that resiliency space, but they're shifting and changing too.
Dwani, if you didn't pop on, I was coming to get you because it looks like that chat room is on fire. So I was checking for chat room, but you beat me to the punch.
Lots of affirmations to what people are saying. I just wanted to say to Lorraine that here for the bank teller job, because that was my first real job too. There weren't a lot of options in a small town, so that seemed like the place to go. The question is, would you say that the pandemic has uncovered a lot of mental health issues having been dormant in people? If so, are you addressing this in the group and how?
You guys gonna get a whole lot of business.
That is
royalties.
Right.
Like that.
But Erica and I are really careful. We do mention that if you are feeling very overwhelmed where you just can't move, you need to seek some sort of help. This is not a therapy session, and we don't want to go into the fact or present it that we are therapists, because that really is not our role. What we try to do is to raise flags so that people see if it's a yellow flag and now it's a red flag, maybe I need to seek some help.
Yeah.
But basically, again, with people being sequestered in their homes, all kinds of things are going to be coming out. Everything from loneliness. I read an article, they said that loneliness can be almost as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. All right, so you've got your elders and you have people that are alone. You know, if you're with a spouse or a partner that you may not necessarily like, you know, a lot of that's going to come out. You have drug abuse, all of those things. We don't go into that, but what we say is if you see that you're moving towards that line, think about getting some mental health.
Absolutely. The thing that we also do, and Lorraine and I try to make these tools available as much as we can. Now in our work, you know, you can certainly go and get an assessment for anything. And, you know, there's almost always a cost associated with that. But we've also tried to find tools that our ladies can use, sometimes like literally in the moment, to assess burnout, for instance. And we say, if in fact you score in a certain, you know, certain range on this particular assessment, you might really be struggling with stress that's a little more sort of continuous, and it might indicate that, you know, seeking some outside help would be very, very important for you. We talked in one of our sessions, Lorraine, if you recall, on burnout, this notion that there are both there are physical, there are emotional, there are the way that you think, there's some physiological ways that your body can hold stress. And so it's perfectly fine if you have the occasional moment where you want to lock your kids in the closet, or, you know, you want to kick your cat. I love my son. I wouldn't lock him in the closet. But you can, and it's perfectly normal. We always say it's absolutely normal everything that you're feeling. There is nothing off limits in the sense of just having a normal reaction to these pretty tough times. But when you start to feel that you are unable to get out of bed for days on end, or you are not sleeping at all, you are really and truly reaching for that cocktail, not at 5, but maybe at 3. And you are really starting to self-isolate. Maybe you aren't picking up the phone and calling your friends. One of the things I love about Lorraine and people in my network, if they haven't heard from me in a while, knowing that I am a fairly outgoing, gregarious person, they're going to check in on me. And I needed that support over these last few months. So the key becomes, what are your stress and anxiety triggers? And we try to make those things, bring those into awareness, so that if in fact you find that you are really kind of feeling out of sorts, but it's something that's happening in a prolonged way, burnout, thoughts of hopelessness and helplessness, depression, extreme anxiety, those things are absolutely on the rise. Because I work at a health insurance company, I read a lot about these things, and mental health practitioners are busy today. So again, to Lorraine's point, we want people, and I believe this is probably one of the cornerstones of my own personal practice as a coach, is this notion that you cannot know a thing or name a thing until you can feel a thing. And so if you are now in the process of experiencing something, how do you have the courage, which we think is a part of resilience, to really center yourself enough to say, I feel scared, I feel uncertain, I don't know what to do, I feel hopeless, I feel what, and own and name that feeling. And then from there, you can then begin to ask yourself, is it a feeling that I can navigate? Is it a feeling that is really causing me a lot of distress? Where can I get some support? So we really try to model and practice that level of transparency to give people the ability to feel empowered to own their feelings. And to Lorraine's point, if it's something that we can address in a way, we do that very openly. But if not, and I've said it 100 times, I see a therapist every week, and I also have my coach. I make sure that I am engaging in that type of self-care, which then allows me to give back and then maintain my own balance. So yeah, it's a lot of mental health issues, I'm sure, are absolutely, unfortunately, making an appearance, but we just so strongly encourage people to get the support they need.
What was the impetus to your desire and your design to make it more experiential? I heard the breakout groups. I imagine your chat rooms on fire. When you were coming up with this design, what was behind, we got to get them talking to each other, not just to us? What went into that?
I'll let Lorraine take that, because this was her brainchild.
Well, to be honest with you, we didn't know. This has been organic. So there was no formula. There was no, this is the way you do it. So each time we got together, we experimented, and we saw people wanted to talk. So when we thought that people wanted to talk, then we said, well, we can do breakout rooms. And that was where Jocelyn came in, Hastings, because she helps us with the Zoom. And then my sister Sandy helped in terms of also unearthing the fact that people may want to talk with each other. When we had our last session, like I said, we could barely shut it down, because everybody was talking. The other thing is that every time we have a session, we're also looking for feedback from those, because this is their group. It's not ours.
Right.
All we're doing is just facilitating. We're giving some sort of a shell in terms of some things to talk about, and then have at it. So this is your time. This is, and that's what we say each time we start with the meditation. This is your time. Don't think about an hour before or an hour from now. Just think about the hour that's here.
Yeah.
This is your time.
Absolutely. And Jim, I'm going to say this too. I don't think that it's always easy for women to slow down enough. And we do look at this as self-care. I know Lorraine and I'll speak for Sandy and Jocelyn too, we give of ourselves and we do this. It's a form of self-care for us. We feel that when you are trying to find ways to stay balanced during uncertain times, that when you're giving back and finding a way to be of service to others, which I've always felt has been one of my own personal core values, it actually takes you outside of yourself, right? And then you start to have this unique sort of opportunity to see that we literally are all in it together. And so you don't feel isolated, you don't feel alone. And I would say to anybody, whether you reach out to sisters and family and friends, get a core group of people that you can be open and honest and vulnerable with. I think to Lorraine's point, the reason that the breakout rooms are always so well received is that it's a human need. It's a human, innate human need to feel a sense of belonging, to feel that you are heard, to feel that you are seen. And any opportunity to really get that need met, it's just a gift. It's a gift. So,
and just really quick, just to put a finer point on this, we have people calling in from California.
Wow.
Calling in from Florida, Ohio,
yeah,
New York. So it's amazing to us that people are just coming and they want to be there.
yeah,
And they find this is now part of their community.
yeah.
You're reaching quite a few people.
Right.
If we were to stop and think without hesitation, we could consider a number of things that are not going right for us right now, a number of things that we've lost, a number of things that hurt.
Yeah.
Can you share with the folks some of your Corona blessings? In addition to this combination, this platform that you have, what else have you gained during this time that you did not see prior to, not feel prior to Corona? But because of that, it tapped into a seventh sense where you now see things a little differently.
Yeah.
Blessings, Corona gifts, in addition to the Twilight Café?
The Twilight Café has been the biggest one, but I'm going to speak very openly. I am a 51-year-old woman, and I have never lived alone. I have never lived alone. I was married for a really long time. And after my son, a lot of my close family members and friends know that a couple of years ago, my son decided he was going to move to South Florida with my ex-husband. And my ex-husband and I have a great relationship. He and my son are very close. And it was a really, really a very difficult decision. You know, I've met with lots of interesting thoughts and opinions about my choice as a woman who decided that my son's relationship with his father was very important and I wanted to be a part of fostering that. And so I used to feel a lot of judgment around that. However, I don't anymore because I look at my son, he's really strong. He has a great bond with his dad, but I've never lived alone. And as a woman who was married for a while and who definitely wants to be in love and married again one day, God help us all, I never really thought, and I had a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety about trusting myself to really know that I would be okay. And so when I got here, I got my own place. I had to figure it out. I will tell you that I have learned some things about myself, my confidence in myself, knowing that I can manage and really navigate what has been a lot of isolation. I've done it. I have formed different kinds of relationships. I have found that my opportunities for speaking engagements and my side hustle has really just blown up because I've just decided that, you know what, it's me and I can figure it out. And so I think the biggest blessing for me is that I'm already a confident person, but I have my self-doubts like everybody. And I have moments where I don't know what the hell is going to happen next. But I have to say, I have had to rely on myself in a way that I never have before. And I have pleasantly surprised myself. And I know, like I know, that I am going to be 100% okay, whether I stay still or not. But no, it's been a blessing. The depth of my self-awareness just in these times of meditating and taking the time and having the time to slow down and really reconnect with myself, it has been tremendous. And I encourage everybody to do it.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lorraine smiling. I know.
Well, as I was listening to Erica, I had to echo a lot of what she said. I think what I've learned is that I can live in chaos is opportunity. In chaos is opportunity. And just like you can decide not to do something, you can decide to do something.
Yeah.
And you can find someone that will help you do that something. So I am very, very, very fortunate. I've got a great family, a great support system. I too am alone, okay? I too am alone. However, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And that is very powerful.
Yeah.
Because I'm owning my life.
Mm.
Mm,
Mm. All
that's
right.
beautiful.
This explains about the land. So I just have one more question, or actually it's an opportunity, it's not a question. We just had a version of the Twilight Cafe today. You gave us a little something, something. I want you to pretend that you are concluding a Twilight Cafe session.
Yeah.
Have 30, 45 seconds to finish off the session with some encouraging words, some words to think about, consider, wisdom, where you look right in that camera like you're doing a virtual keynote, and you're going to send us off with a bang. It's 30, 45 seconds. The curtain's about to close on the cafe today.
Erica, you start and I'll finish up.
You got it. I'm going to start. Lorraine's going to be my co-pilot. So one of the things that we always want to drive home to everybody is that there isn't a single feeling, a single thought, a single emotion that you are having that is not right. Everything you feel, everything you experience, it is your own, and you are not alone. The biggest key takeaway we always want every single person who joins us to have and to remember is that good things are always happening for you. There is nothing too big for you to handle. And that dialing up your resilience and staying in balance is almost always going to keep you right where you need to be. So, Lorraine.
And then I will end with the following. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be safe. And may your heart be filled.
Yes.
Until the next time.
I'm pivoting. I have one more question. It's this time next year. You've been doing the Twilight Cafe for a year. What's your vision? What's your hope? What's your dream? 1 year away, you've done a year's worth of work.
Yeah.
What would you like things to be like, feel like, the people who attend? If you could design it, or begin with the end in mind, if you could design it, what would you want a year from now?
I think it would feel very much like it feels now, but we would hopefully be doing it in person. If we aren't doing it in person, we might have opportunities to have our menfolk join us. We might consider having some version of this for our young people. Whatever it is, we just think that it will continue to deepen and grow. That's kind of how I see it, whether it's virtual or not, but we definitely want to continue. That we do know. So,
and I would second that.
Yeah.
Love it, love it. Erica, Lorraine, are you kidding me? Thank you.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
That wisdom, for being vulnerable, being transparent, for being authentic, and really creating one of your sessions here. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We got to do it again.
Yes, we do.
Let us know.
Donnie, anything else out there in the chat room before I put a bow on this?
Nope, just a bunch of thank yous and validation from everybody. I initially posted the wrong Twilight Cafe. That's an eating place. So reminding people that you need to use the word "the" when you search on Facebook for the cafe. Right. Thanks, ladies.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
For those of you who are out there, you just got 60 minutes worth of nuggets. Two people who poured out their soul, their heart, and they kept it real. They kept it 100. They said, we don't have all the answers, but there's always an opportunity. I believe they see opportunities where some people see obstacles, and they see possibilities where some people see problems. They're focusing because they know what they focus on grows. We have that option too. Yes, we're going through it, and keep going. Keep going to that place where you're going to be so much better. Yeah. You will have your Corona blessings. Your life will not be the same. And you will too be on fire. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week on the Dr. Jim Show. Have a phenomenal day, week, and stay safe and wear your mask. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good stuff. Thank you. Great job, great job, great job, great job.
Pretty much everybody's gone, so we can roll on out.
All right. I will follow up with you later on in the week, okay?
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.